Talk to him every Thursday morning. It's one of the greatest times I have. I interviewed this man. The second interview I ever did with him was the best interview I've ever done in my life, when we sat one-on-one for 17 minutes and talked about January 6th like it was nobody's business. It was a great interview, and I always will appreciate that. So it brings me great pleasure to introduce to you tonight, Congressman Byron Donalds!
I don't know how we're going to follow the auction on fillers and lipo. Why did you put me in this position? And then you just told everybody that the interview we did, that the interview you did, that was, did you call it the second best interview you ever did? It was the second interview you did with me. The best interview. So all the other interviews we've done since then, we chopped liver? You want that? Okay. Oh my gosh. All right, we're done talking now. You're done. You know, I'm a dad, right? And you know, when you got children, you get to a point, I'm not calling you that, Jason, when you get to a point where you tell them that they're cruising for a bruising, sir, you might get like the next 3 Thursdays canceled. Keep playing around. I might have to go do trade show for 3 Thursdays and all the rest of shit. He's like, gotta do more than those. I heard Mercedes, his boss is here. What are you doing? Nah, I love you, brother. You're doing a great job. Give him up. He's doing a great job. Adam, you were amazing. To my lovely wife, the next First Lady of the great state of Florida. You were so informative. You were joking. She goes, did I depress everybody? I go, no, baby, absolutely not. You were just informative. She goes, well, that's what I do. And I said, absolutely, that's why you're the best, and I love you. Lee County, it is great to be with you all. It has been a day. I've kind of been everywhere. Started the morning in Boca Grande. They twisted my arm to go up to Boca Grande. It's a little nice up there. That's that part of Lee County that we were all like, is it really like here? But okay, we'll go with it. Beautiful up there, aquamarine water, spectacular. White sandy beaches. I went up, I did a 30-minute speech and Q&A with a lot of folks in the phosphate business in Florida. And I show up and I had my jacket off and I said, all right, you know, maybe I should put my jacket on. And I was like, why? I'm in Boca Grande. Nobody wears a jacket here. I was shocked I was in dress slacks today. Started there, made my way to the villages. We've been listening to that damn jingle for so long down there. Florida's friendliest hometown. And I'm like, what about Southwest Florida? Why are they playing that down here? But they like it. Dr. Phil spoke today at the rally with President Trump. And Dr. Phil comes up, President calls him up on stage, and he goes, I told my wife I was coming to the villages. And this guy, oh no. And, stop it. And then his wife goes to him, oh no, you're not. You're not coming there by yourself. They party too much there at the villages. It was a good day. The president was on fire. To be honest, I was I was on fire. I hadn't been to a rally environment since the presidential election. We were crisscrossing this country. We were all over the place. And the mission was clear. We had to defeat the crazy, insane left. And so to be back in that environment, you know, everybody's talking about the party today. Where are we? Are we divided? Are we united? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Let me assure you of something. In the villages today, that place was on fire, and it was on fire for one mission and one mission only, and that is to make sure that we keep this nation strong, we continue to make America great again, and we defeat the insane, radical, progressive left. So I got a chance to speak, and it kind of went something like this. Thank God Kamala Harris is not president of the United States. Because our political opponents are crazy. These people still believe today that it is okay to mutilate and change the gender of kids. They believe it today. They haven't changed. They just got quiet because they lost. But they still believe in the same insane things. We had a vote on the floor of the House of Representatives. The vote called to ban transgender mutilation of kids. Common sense stuff, right? The bill passes the House. But about 180 Democrats vote no. They still are doing this stuff. They're still in that mindset. And so as we move into this year's elections, as we move into the midterms, let's be very clear about what's on the line. They will destroy this country again if we don't stand up as red-blooded Americans and make sure we turn out, elect Republicans, and keep the majority in the House, in the Senate, the governor's mansion here in Florida, our state legislative seats, our school boards, our county commissions, and our city councils, because they are crazy. They cannot be trusted. You got Hakeem Jeffries up there challenging Governor DeSantis. By the way, Governor DeSantis has done a great job leading our state these last 7 months. And look, because I'm home, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna be a little bit more flexible than typically the campaign team wants me to be. Be a little bit more flexible. They like me to be focused. I'm focused all the time. I really am. I see it on social media. You got people out there clipping words that I say, saying he never says he supports Governor DeSantis. And I'm like, you guys are really sophomoric and retarded. Just about every speech I give, I always appreciate and commend Governor DeSantis for what he has done for this state, because he has been a great leader for our state. His governorship and leadership came along at a time when the radical establishments in health wanted to shut this place down, have us masked up, 6 feet away from each other, like that's gonna do anything, and shut our businesses down. And he had the courage and the vision and the leadership to say, you are not shutting down Florida. Florida is gonna be open, and Florida is gonna be free. And so I remember during that time period, we had some of our local city councils. All of them decided that they wanted to have a debate in their meetings about whether they should issue mask mandates in Southwest Florida. At the time, I was a congressional candidate. I heard there's like 1 or 3 or 20 of y'all in here tonight.
Only one veteran.
Oh, wow. Let me not talk about that race again for the rest of the evening. It's gonna get hot in here. And so I would go city council to city council, and I would inform the members of our city council that they had no legal authority to issue mask mandates in Southwest Florida because Governor DeSantis had already issued an executive order saying you cannot issue mask mandates. And I remember I had some friends that would come to me and Byron, you should know that these mask mandates are kind of popular with older voters. And I said, I don't care. One, it's wrong. Two, it's stupid. Three, the governor already issued his order. So the elections began. We were going to stand and do the right thing on behalf of the people of Southwest Florida. I remember the Fort Myers City Council, because we got some Democrats on that council. And I had to go in there and explain to them very clearly, you do not have the legal authority to do what you're going to do. I had to go to the Collier County Public School meeting. You do not have the legal authority to do this. Just so you know, you can debate all you want, but the governor issued an order, and the last time I checked, when the governor issues an order, every elected official and every elected body has a responsibility to follow it. So it's very interesting how campaign season can morph into the silly season. I remember when I was in the state legislature long time ago. Some of you guys remember that one. Some of y'all in this room. This is back when I represented Hendrick County, Eastern Collier County. My district went all the way to Clewiston, and I had Eastern Collier County. And I remember when I was in the state legislature, this was during the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting. And a bill did go through the legislature that took away Second Amendment rights. Your member of Congress, your candidate for governor, at the time, a member of the state legislative delegation, looked everybody in Tallahassee in the face and said, absolutely not. I'm voting no. We are always going to protect constitutional rights because shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. I remember we passed a bill in my first year in Tallahassee, and that bill called for us to examine the instructional materials in front of our kids because we wanted to actually find the woke. We wanted to see the DEI. We wanted to know about the CRT, and we wanted to remove it from the classrooms of the state of Florida. We had a different governor at the time. That governor was Rick Scott, and Rick Scott signed that bill into law. So let's be very clear about elections today. Anybody who thinks they're going to try to accuse me of not being a conservative, they are lying, and they are fools. My record is clear, and I'm not taking a step back to anybody. I told y'all I'm in a good mood right now. The governor and the legislature just rewrote the congressional maps. I'm not talking about 19 right now. Everybody calm down. Hakeem Jeffries tried to call out our governor talking about that they're going to F around and find out. That man is a fool. What he's going to find out is that after this November, people will remain the minority leader in the United States House of Representatives. That's what he's going to find out. And the reason why he's going to find that out is very, very simple. Because the people of our country, and especially the people of Florida, we remember the insanity of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, of Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi, of Chuck Schumer. Oh my goodness, that man is stupid. We've not forgotten. I've not forgotten. You in this room, you've not forgotten. They opened up our borders on purpose. They let the drug cartels traffic people into our country on purpose. And then they acted like it wasn't their fault. Donald Trump comes back, 47th president of the United States, and on day one issues the order to seal the borders. And from his first day back in office until today, there have been 0 illegal border crossings into the United States of America. 0. They think we forgot. We didn't forget anything. We didn't forget, and we're not gonna forget. These crazy people on the Democratic left, they unleashed the worst inflation our country has seen since the second worst president of the United States, when Jimmy Carter was president. So Jimmy Carter was a dummy and unleashed massive inflation on the American people. I was just a baby. I was born in '78, the greatest year ever created. 1978, they broke the mold. They don't make it like that all the time. I remember I would go with my mom into the bank. It was called Chemical Bank in New York, but before that, it was Manufacturers Hanover and Trust. Anybody from New York back in the day, you know about Manufacturers Hanover and Trust. There it is, New York, right there. Brooklyn's always in the house, baby. Always in the house. I remember when CD rates were 9%. Everybody in this room that's old enough, you don't even know about this, baby. Let me tell you. A certificate of deposit was 9%. That's because of terrible Democrat economic policy led by a guy who, by all accounts, I've never met President Carter, by all accounts is a very nice man, but just doesn't know what the hell he was doing. By the way, President Trump is dealing with his mess today because it was Jimmy Carter and his stupidity that allowed for the radical mullahs to take over Iran. That was back under the second worst president of the United States. And then we just got done with the administration of the worst president in the United States history, the auto-pen Joe Biden. I'm changing his name. The president calls him Crooked Joe. I call him Auto-pen Joe. Because we know he wasn't running the place. But his policy was so crazy, it allowed the Iranians to run roughshod over the Middle East, launching terror attacks all over the place, building their economy back after President Trump shut down their economy in the 45th administration, in his 45th presidency. This is what's in front of us, folks. We are dealing with people who do not respect logic, who do not respect biology, who do not respect science, who do not respect literacy, who do not respect Western civilization. And the only way we are going to win this November is if we stand firm and work together. To all the candidates in the room, and look, I'm on. To all the candidates in the room, I get it. You're working hard, raising money, knocking doors, seeing people, might do debates, whatever the heck is going on. I understand. But when these races are over, they are over. Our party, our movement has to be one movement. Because our rivals, the Democrats, they might have some disagreements internally, but let me assure you, having served on Capitol Hill the last 6 years, they are more focused than ever to defeat us. And what they have come to know and understand is that no matter how much they might disagree amongst themselves, to them, we are the enemy. President Trump just had the third attempt on his life. The third. And the Democrats don't even talk about it. Charlie Kirk was assassinated because he had the courage to stand firm against the radical left and speak truth to the young people of this country, like Adam right there. And they killed him for it. You think anybody in this room cares who chairs what committee? And who's president of what club? And who got their way on what dinner? If that is how you look at our movement, with all due respect, please go sit at home, because we gotta be focused and we gotta win. I've made a lot of sacrifices in my life the last 15 years. A lot of them. My wife knows. There's games I've missed, there's times I've not been with my sons that I've missed them. It's tough. And when I go to Washington or I go to Tallahassee, we see up close and personal what the radical left is really capable of. To come home and watch petty divisions and silly divisions that, quite frankly, don't matter, that do not matter, is a waste of everybody's time. It's a waste of everybody's energy. And in my opinion, quite frankly, it is a disrespect to the people who make their own sacrifices in their lives, time away from their kids, to be activists here at home, to get people to the polls, to knock doors, to organize events, to raise money, just so we can hold on to what what makes America the greatest nation in the world. And if you are too self-absorbed or too focused on X and social media to realize that the enemy is not us, that the enemy is those who seek to unwind the greatest nation ever known, then as far as I'm concerned, you have now become an acolyte of the radical left. They seek to divide us. They seek to divide us on purpose. I'm seeing what's happening in social media. We all see it. You have these psychological operations going on in social media just so somebody can get clicks and likes and followers. Everybody now wants to be a shock jock. You older folks, you remember Howard Stern, right? Look up Howard Stern. When Howard Stern was a normal, regular radio host, he had no ratings. He was almost thrown off the air. When he decided to become the shock jock, Howard Stern, his ratings went through the roof. And he actually built one of the most listened to radio shows in the history of radio. What do you think is going on social media right now? We have a bunch of people who are running around trying to be shock jocks, just so they can get attention and likes and clicks, just so they can have the eyeballs of our people, especially our young people, look just a little longer. We get to it right now. You got Candace Owens out there with her crazy self, accusing Erica Kirk. Man, that's disgusting. How dare you? That woman lost her husband in service to this country. And forget how much you might disagree. You don't have enough respect just to leave that woman alone. Let her mourn her husband. Let their kids heal and try to find a way to continue the mission, the organization, the institution, which I truly believe was the linchpin in us winning in 2024. But you're so selfish and so self-absorbed and addicted to clicks online that you're going to tarnish that woman? As conservatives, when are we going to look ourselves in the mirror and realize that we can disagree on policy, but there is just some basic decency and basic humility and basic humanity that we got to have? Forget the Democrats for a second. To each other. Yeah, I'm running for governor. By the way, Donald Trump's endorsing the United States next governor. It's actually going very, very well. But this ain't about a governor's race. This is about us and our political family. I've known Mercedes Price Harry for 15 years. I've known her for 15 years. When we first met each other, she was in the 9/12 movement. She was a 9/12. I was a Tea Partier. Our movements were aligned, but we had slightly different views. But we were still aligned. All the time she spent away from her husband Brian and their kids at home, all the times that she sacrificed in service to this community, even when she was also a small business owner, I've seen it, Erica's seen it, we've watched it time and time again. So when I hear we got people in Lee County trying to undermine somebody who's given 15 years to the conservative movement, yeah, I get pissed off about it. You want to disagree, that's fine. You have a view of how you think things should go, that's fine. Here's my advice for anybody who disagrees. When the next election for chairman in the Lee County GOP comes up, run. But if we're going to attack each other and distract each other and undermine each other, all you are doing is helping the radical, insane, crazy left win. I see it on Capitol Hill. Some of my colleagues, sometimes we have a side conversation. I don't tweet about this stuff. It's not for public consumption. And I say, whoa, maybe you should tweet that. Maybe you should post that. Because even though we're in a debate with the White House on a policy here or a policy there, we don't want to have to undermine our own team. Because the Democrats are trying to undermine us every single day. They lie about us every single day. You got the President of the United States backing me to be governor, and they still run around and call a man a racist. Have you ever heard something so stupid in your life? His daughter, Ivanka, married a Jewish man and converted. And they say that he hates Jews. These people are sick. They lie all the time. And we cannot let ourselves be deluded by their lies, because all that does is accomplish their mission, not ours. Our mission is to make sure that this thing goes from 250 to 500. That's the mission of our movement. That's the mission of our movement. That's the cause that we have in front of us. We got another silly lady on Capitol Hill decided she wanted to file impeachment proceedings against Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. Impeaching Pete Hegseth? Like, what are we talking about here? And she came up with some mealy-mouthed reason that made no damn sense to anybody. When they were in charge of the then Department of Defense, and I'm glad Donald Trump called it the Department of War, because our enemies need to know, you mess around with us, this is what's coming. You have the girl down there running his mouth, come and get me, come and get me. He messed around and found out. He found out. Sure did. That thing happened quick too, boy. By the time we saw it on social media, it was already done. Already finished. It happened quick. By the way, I know in our movement we're having a disagreement on military conflict, and I know why. Because the never-ending wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have, in my opinion, scarred a generation of Americans, not just those who served and were injured, but also people at home who are like, why did we do all this for so long? When President Trump talks about America first, he means it. When he talks about not having endless wars, he means that too. But let me be very clear with you. The man is not afraid of using our military might to maintain our nation's resolve and our nation's security and our nation's future. For friends of us in our movement who think that America first means America only, let me tell you something. The Chinese, the Russians, the North Koreans, and the Iranians, they would love for the United States to become isolationists again. Because every time our country became isolationist and looked inward and ignored the world, we would have to send young men and treasure over to stop tyranny. That's the history of global affairs. Nobody wants war. I don't want war. I'm not a warmonger. I'm not a neocon. I'm not Lindsey Graham. Lindsey had fight a battle in every day part of the country. I don't disagree. I don't agree with him on that. But the president does understand that sometimes military might has to be used, and it has to be used sparingly. But when it is used, it's used with full power and full might. No half-stepping, no half measures, because quite frankly, that's been the foreign policy standing for too many presidents, and that is what has gotten us into these endless, never-ending wars, because we didn't go over there, kill the enemy, and come home. So you got a Democrat saying she wants to impeach Pete Hegseth. And I'm like, lady, you're stupid. When Joe Biden was in charge of our military, and I forgot their Department of War, I forgot him. That's how great a job he did. I can't even remember his name, and I was on Capitol Hill. When they were in charge, the recruitment of our military, of our young people, was at its lowest levels in 60 years. We could not get young people to decide to sign up and go into the military. They wanted to treat the military as some esoteric gay rights experiment. That too. That's what they wanted to do. That's what they did. And recruitment plummeted. So in comes Donald Trump, in comes Pete Hegseth. They say, we are the Department of War. We stand for fitness. We stand for excellence. And recruitment levels in the Department of Defense have skyrocketed to record levels. Lee County, this is what we're fighting for. We ain't fighting each other. We'll disagree, that's fine, it happens. I love my wife, I've been married 23 years. I hear in other marriages, sometimes husband and wives disagree, but not my marriage. We never disagree. That never happens, but she's always right. But folks, we disagree in families. We're going to disagree in the party. But what we can't disagree about is one of the ideals of our movement. Those ideals have to remain strong. We have to always be focused on them. Because that is how we defeat the radical left. And that is how we preserve this great nation. And that is how America goes from 250 to 500. In our state, here in Florida, Lee County, you guys always lead the charge. You and the Panhandle, to be honest with you. You guys always lead the charge in turning out voters to make sure that Florida remains red. My mission is to make sure that Florida remains red, no matter who wins the primary. I'm going to win the primary. But in order to do this, we got to work together. You have my word, just like how it was when I was an activist in the Tea Party movement or a young guy in the Collier County REC. I will be standing with you again this September, this October, this November to make sure that Florida stays red and that we save this great republic for the future of all of our young people, regardless of party. So Adam here has a shot to lead future generations into an even better America than we know today. God bless you guys.